Hi there, I am Piff and welcome back to my Ultimate Decade Challenge series in The Sims 4. I have been uploading quite much from this series recently, which I hope you like. Also, I have no idea if you liked the previous videos because when I record this, I haven't uploaded anything. So yeah, that's fun. Anyway, you don't want to hear me babble about my life, you want to see the Greenwoods life, and today is a very special day for my family. Because Cedric and Lisa's oldest child is turning into a child. When I say it like that, it doesn't sound super interesting, but she's actually the first kid that turns into a child in this series. And she's also my favorite sim at the moment. Unfortunately, she can't be the future heir for my legacy since this is the 1300s and the girls can't be the heir. But Rosemary will always be very special to me. I'm also trying a new thing in this video. Let me know if you noticed. But without further ado, let's watch today's episode. Year 1308. Before I start talking about Rosemary's big day, I want to tell you some facts about the 1300s. Because Rosemary is now a child, and in the rules I'm following by Morbid, when a girl turns into a child, you have to roll a dice if she can get married or not in the future. I'm not going to tell you her fate, but I actually did some research about how women got married in the 1300s, and this is what I got. Tell me if I'm wrong. So, as I understand it, the Catholic Church had control over marriage, but their role was more to review the couple's consent than to choose who they would marry. The church deemed girls as young as 12 years old to be of age of consent to marriage, which I find quite disgusting. Who the girl should marry was the father's job. He decided who his daughter should wed, but if the church received information that the girl had been forced without her consent, they refused to arrange the wedding. But since a woman's choice often was limited by what her family wanted, I don't think the church actually saw that some girls didn't want to get married. It was also most of the time unthinkable to go against your family and the church. A girl who didn't get married would face, at least for peasants, economic consequences. But if a woman refused to get married, they had a few alternatives. They could become a nun, since that was often viewed as a spiritual marriage to God. It was often just an option for noble families or if the church accepted her. The other option was to just be single and stay with her parents and brothers. And the last option was to work as a servant, which was considered a low status existence. So about Rosemary, she is now a beautiful young lady, or as you say in The Sims, a child. She isn't old enough to get married, but at the end of this year, her and Cedric will go to the church to discuss her future and if Rosemary actually wants to get married. And as you probably know from previous episodes, Cedric and Rosemary have a really good relationship now. Cedric didn't need to ask his daughter if she could help on the farm. She just did it. The truth was that Rosemary had started to grow up more. She wanted to make her father proud and not be a burden to him or the family. Cedric had such a good harvest from last year that he brought Rosemary with him to the village to sell some stuff. It was fun to be away from the farm and all the siblings that Rosemary had. She saw how hard her father worked to take care of his family, and she wanted to do the same. However, Cedric sometimes let Rosemary be a child and play around, but this time she got nauseous from the swing that she actually threw up. So they had to go home. Kyler, who was Edward's older child, had also grown into a kid, and Rosemary often visited him and his little brother Jasper to talk about the future. The church did not support marriage by blood, so none of them had to worry that they would get married to each other. Since Kyler lived in an orphanage, Edward had actually no right anymore to arrange a wedding for Kyler. But the church had been nice to his family since the only reason why Edward had to give away his children was because of Estelle. They agreed to let Edward decide his son's future if Cedric agreed as well. So technically Cedric was the one to decide. But Edward didn't think that was a problem. Maybe it was for the best. Rosemary loved her cousins and the fact that Kyler and her probably would get married the same year, so she didn't have to feel so alone. Before they left the orphanage, Kyler had told Rosemary that someone just had gotten kittens. He knew how much Rosemary loved animals, and when she and Cedric got home, she asked him immediately if they could get one. Cedric wasn't sure at first, but his daughter had been so good lately, so maybe she deserved a little companion. Cats were actually just a working animal back in the days. There weren't even cat breeds as we know them today. You just divided them by coat color and type, like short-haired and long-haired. The breeds that existed were Norwegian forest cat, Siamese, Koret, Egyptian Mau, Turkish Angora, Japanese bobtail, European shorthair, and this word that I can't pronounce. Black cats were often associated with witchcraft, but we say that today as well, even if we often don't believe it. Rosemary and Cedric went to the Stanford family to see if they had any kittens that Rosemary wanted. There was one special one. The Stanfords had a son named Blake that Rosemary really enjoyed talking to. They clicked very well, and he was nice to her. He had actually been to church to talk about the future, and now his father just had to find the one for him. Rosemary saw that Blake was a little nervous. He also had a sister named Charlotte, but she was a little bit younger than him. Rosemary decided which cat she wanted, and then they went home with a new little family member. The little kitten was a male, and Rosemary named him Cookie. She really liked Cookie, and I think he liked her too. She wanted to have him by her side forever. Last year, the harvest was really good and the family had not been starving at all. But this year the soil was bad and Cedric didn't know if they would get anything, which meant that they had to live on gruel. Something else that was frustrating to Cedric was that he and Lisa had been together a lot recently, but for some reason Lisa didn't get pregnant. It was of course a good thing that they weren't expecting more kids now, when the harvest was so bad. But he was worried that Lisa never could get pregnant again. She was only 23 years old. Then the first snow came and Cedric got more nervous about the food. How would they survive this winter without any food at all? Rosemary, however, did not worry about anything. She was happy with a new friend Blake and that she would soon go to the church and show them how much she wanted to get married. She was the family's little sunshine. She couldn't sleep the night before it was time, so she sat and stitched. She had heard her mother Lisa go up in the middle of the night to throw up. Maybe she was pregnant after all. When Rosemary finally fell asleep, she dreamed a nightmare. Cedric had to go up and take care of her since she was really afraid. Then it was time to finally go to church. Cedric and Rosemary went in together holding each other's hand. He really supported his daughter. When they came in, a priest stood in the entrance, smiling. He welcomed Rosemary and asked if they could sit down and talk a little. He asked her questions about how she felt about everything and if she had any questions. But Rosemary just sat there smiling and reassured the church that she wanted to get married for her father and herself. The priest looked at Cedric and said that he had raised his daughter very well. Cedric sat there proudly. When they were finished, the priest asked Cedric if he had decided on a man for Rosemary yet, but he answered that he wanted to look for more options. The priest nodded. He gave them an approval that Rosemary could get married the year she turned 16 years old, and then he showed them out. Rosemary was so proud of herself, and so was Cedric. At the farm, Rosemary had gone to the chapel to thank God. She wanted him to protect her family and find a good man for her that took care of her and brought her many children. Something funny was that after Rosemary had prayed, Lisa came with the news that she was pregnant again. Cedric was happy for her, but also terrified. The winter was soon here. They didn't have much food and Lisa waited for another baby. How would they survive? Rosemary was not happy to receive the news. She was done with siblings. She wanted to start her life now, not take care of her younger siblings. But what could you do? This year had been a very good one. The family had been healthy, Rosemary got a new cat, and Lisa will give birth to another child. This farm is really starting to grow. Hopefully they will survive this winter, but as you probably understand, Cedric is quite stressed out that the food isn't going to feed everyone. We just have to hold our thumbs. Also, Adam grew up into a toddler, but I didn't show you that. Sorry. See you next time!